What's up, everybody? Welcome again to a hopefully audio corrected edition of Cinema Royale. So apologies to anybody. You know,
You listened to it last week? Did you listen to it? Did it sound quiet to you?
yeah, it's I messed with it for like 2 hours because the local copy we have sounds fine. There's no issues with it. But then the YouTube copy sounds like I was like, I don't want people to hear Travis really, so let me turn him down. Pay attention to me, so I'm gonna turn me up. But I think we have that corrected.
Do something like that to put yourself over. You turn my volume down.
Well, we all got to get the leg up that we can, right?
You know what? I'm not surprised by anything anymore. Anyway, how you doing?
Good, man. Good. Just another week in paradise. Looks like we're having finally another week where we're back to normal walks. I mean, I guess I could have seen this coming, and obviously this might be pretty or too early to say that Fast 9 is what reawakened the box office, because we've had other big box offices since COVID, but I mean, of course it's going to be something like F9. Of course it's going to be something you can turn your brain off, watch things blow up, and have fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is what, $70 million opening weekend domestic. It's already over $400 million worldwide
Mm-hmm.
for F9. So, yeah, those are really good numbers. I think pre-pandemic it would have done even better. Obviously, probably would have done 100 million. But 70 million is still a pretty good start. Like you said, it's at 400 million bucks already. It's probably gonna make five, six, maybe more along the way. That's not quite the billion that some of the others have made, but yeah, it's still a really good start for F9, and that's why this franchise ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm almost curious to see, like, I don't know if you've gone back and done. I know we talked about a couple weeks ago doing like a running commentary of all the films, but you can see exactly what happens. Like at F5 or Fast 5, that's when somebody in the producer's office is like, nobody cares how logical it is. They care how fun it is. So let's do it that way. And you can see the twist there, and then that's how you end up going from let's boost car stereos to let's fly a car into space. you know,
Say the one before that, F4, like Fast and Furious 4, whatever it was called.
it's Fast and Furious. I think that was
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, I think that was just Fast and
That's the
Furious.
one that Letty wasn't in at all because she was dead. And it was I think that's the first one that we meet Gal Gadot's character, who I still say is the biggest tragedy of this whole fictional tragedy. Obviously, Paul Walker was the biggest real tragedy, but her character not being in there anymore. Not that she really did a whole lot, but I'm a big fan of hers.
Well, I mean, the Han Giselle relationship was my favorite in the entire franchise. So
Yeah, it
I
was
lost, I lost
so
both
fun.
in the same movie, so I was really upset.
Yeah.
But F9 is interesting. First of all, it's the return of Justin Lin as
Mhm.
director. Now, he did four of the movies previously done. Tokyo Drift, which everyone knows is my favorite. He
Mhm.
did Fast and Furious. He did Fast Five, and he did Fast and Furious Six.
Right.
Uh, so, which I think was just Fast Six, or was it Furious Six?
From 5 on, they all meld together. Like, I know one of them they pulled a safe through the streets. I know one of them they jumped from building to building, but I don't know if those are the same.
Anymore. But so he was gone for a couple movies,
Mhm.
replaced by James Wan and Gary Gray, who did Fast and Furious 8, Fate of the Furious.
Mhm.
So Justin Lin is back, and my thing, and I wrote about this in my review. Um, my thing is, there's this line that Vin Diesel says. They kind of rehash it in this one, and it's not something that's unique, but it's basically, it doesn't matter what's under the hood; it matters who's behind the wheel.
Right.
And that couldn't mean it couldn't be more perfect, more appropriate, because this is the first Fast and Furious movie I've really loved since Justin Lin left.
Yeah.
It's something that he has this connection with the franchise. He just knows it better than anybody. And this one felt like a return to form. I didn't like Fate of the Furious that much. The
Mhm.
one before that, Seven, I don't remember hardly anything about it. I don't know if I
Yeah.
remember anything about it, but I remember all of Justin Lin's movies for the most part. And this one felt like a return to form, and he co-wrote this one too, and he just has his handle on the characters. This one has John Cena showing up in the film as Jacob Toretto, a previously unknown brother that Dom has. Yeah, and I found it ironic that John Cena shows up for this one because this is the one to me that was like the most like WWE sports entertainment.
Hmm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
which as anyone will tell you, as a longtime wrestling fan, I will tell you that wrestling is purely soap opera for men. It's
Hmm.
soap opera for dudes, and that is essentially what the Fast and Furious movies are at this point. They are soap
Oh,
opera for dudes.
100%.
Yeah, and John Cena's inclusion felt both like perfectly timed and like also why haven't you guys done this already?
Hmm.
Like like
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a bunch of wrestlers in this already. Did Stone Cold Steve Austin ever show up in one of them? Didn't he?
No, he showed up in The Expendables is the only big movie I can think of that he
That's
showed up
right.
in.
So I'm getting this mixed up with the Expendables. Of course, they got Dwayne
Honest
Johnson.
mistake.
I know. They got Dwayne Johnson already, so you've got two ex WWE guys in there now already. But it's like you can fit in more in there,
Yeah. Shawn Michaels can be like the mid-tier henchman guy, and yeah, I mean,
Where's the Miz? The Miz isn't showing up yet. I mean, come on, man.
yeah, that's true. That's surprising actually, because he's all about his
The
acting career.
the one that needs to be show up is Batista, obviously.
Hmm.
Batista is long overdue for a role. I can see him as a nice henchman for Cipher,
Well, see,
Trevor
it's
Theron's villain who shows up again for this movie.
yeah, I'm sitting here thinking while you're saying that about the soap opera stuff, and the only thing I can think of it is totally soap opera because obviously there's no logic in some of the things these people survive, but more so the fact that John Cena, white Midwestern corn-fed John Cena, is the long lost brother of very Italian, trending Hispanic.
It's
What's that?
not when you look at the like when you show the flashbacks.
Yeah,
And that guy grew up to be John Cena. I don't
exactly. And like, who would look like a Toretto? Who would look like a better fit in Toretto than Dom's big brother, long lost big brother, Bautista? I mean, he at least looks like he'd be a member of the family, you know?
So, or he can still show up as a Toretto. I mean,
Oh yeah. Well,
he'll
that's the
be the
beauty of the
Toretto
soap opera format.
he'll be the Toretto that Dom never knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really. So John Cena is related to Jordana Brewster and Vin Diesel. Like these people are from the same line. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, what did you find out is that it wasn't. Oh, I'm going to spoilers, but Dom's dad's car was not messed up the way we think it was. It was actually his long lost brother that nobody knew about, who was a love child with the wife of his arch rival racer, and that's where Bautista comes in.
I
It's,
mean,
you
look
know,
the way the connections to family and stuff are pretty naughty in this franchise. They could do pretty much anything they want.
yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't really matter. None of that stuff makes any sense at this point anyway. And look, and I was trying to explain to someone after the movies, one of our colleagues who didn't really like it, and she admitted that she didn't really like the other ones either. I was like, well, it's been 20 years.
Hmm.
If you don't like them by now, you're never going to.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, it's not there's not going to be like that one like Fast and Furious movie that suddenly changes you. Like if you haven't liked it by say number 4, you're never gonna like
Yeah.
it. So it's kind of the way it is. So and this one is I think more than any of the others, and I think even more than Fate of the Furious, which that entire movie was really heavy-handed in its preaching about family and stuff like that. I thought to the
Hmm.
detriment of the film itself. This one felt more personal without trying so hard.
Right.
And like I felt it in this one more than anything. Like we finally get to see some of Dom's past. We see some flashbacks. We see him moving on. So he's got his son now. He's living
Hmm.
off the grid with Letty and the kid, by the way, played by Vin Diesel's real life.
Right.
So much. Actually, the guy who played young Dominic Toretto looked a hell of a lot like Vin Diesel too. He could have easily been his son, though it wasn't. It's a New Zealand actor whose name I don't remember, but he looks a hell of a lot like Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's the family thing has sort of both come full circle and grown, and it feels natural to the movie. But then also you got the extended family, of course. So you've got all the guys coming back in that you expect. You just got a couple unexpected ones. Everybody knows Han comes back at this point. That's not a spoiler.
Yep. I'm waiting to hear about the ones I didn't wasn't sure were coming back that I know you liked seeing.
Yes, yes. There's one who makes a flashback appearance in this too that made me very happy as well.
Right.
Just one little scene. We already talked about her earlier.
Oh yeah.
We already talked about her. That was not
Mm.
like a rehashed scene. That was a new scene. So
Yeah, that's true.
so that made me very happy. And all that stuff with the Torettos and their family, both the inside and the outside, really worked for me. And of course, the action is tremendous, even if it's gotten to the point where it's sort of numbing at this point. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
cars with giant magnets on them and shooting things everywhere. Literally more damage done to a city than Superman and Kal-El did in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
I mean, like it's not even close. Like they did incredible damage. I
Yeah.
imagine hundreds or maybe even thousands of people died in those movies, and that we're just never gonna talk about it.
Yeah, that's what we sweep under the rug.
People
Of
died.
course they're heroes, but there's monuments up to the last time they drove through the city.
I mean, Jesus Christ, man, the amount of damage that these people would have to pay for. And one
Yeah.
of the things I always think is funny about these movies, all these characters pop up and claim to be spies, looking for these covert operations. There's
Yeah.
nothing covert in these movies.
Yeah.
Like that Cena comes in here talking, Jacob comes in here talking about this, the spy world. You're in my world now. It's like there's nothing spy about. Like there's nothing. There's no espionage here. Like no one has snuck around and done anything in a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the old joke about James Bond. You know, he's the world's best super spy, but he gives his name every time he talks to somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
There ain't no spy games going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
But I love this movie, man. I had
yeah.
a lot of fun with it, and I'm actually considering going to see it again tonight. I had so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I liked a lot was you always get a lot of different locales with the Fast franchises. Usually they're heavily set in one type of area, like whether it's the favelas of Fast and the Furious or Southern California in the first one. But this one seemed to bounce to a lot more. There were some scenes in Japan, there were scenes in a rainforest, there were scenes in London, and it really bounced around and took advantage of most of those locations. The only thing I can really say I did not like about this and don't understand is why they kept Cypher's haircut that way. I mean, is she a big fan of Princess Toadstool? Is that what's going on? I'm not sure. I rocked that haircut in seventh grade, so I can't be too mad.
You're sitting there worried about her hair. I was too busy looking at those leather pants she was wearing.
Bro, I was too.
I never saw her hair. I don't know what you're talking about.
But all I could think of was Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder. In that with that movie role he did where you don't go full, we won't say what he said because it wasn't nice. That's all I could think of. But she's still gorgeous, and that shows how amazing Charlize Theron is. But yeah, action everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is of course ridiculous as always. We know the action's ridiculous, but this movie is, I think, also a lot more self-aware. Like, and look, Fast and Furious probably been self-aware for a while anyway, but I think this is better at it. Like, there's a running gag about them like possibly being immortal or superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we all joke about that, like the stuff that they pull off and that they do, and that they survive. I would put up against the Avengers any day. Like the stuff that they do.
100%.
So yeah, it makes sense for you to have that joke in there that they might be superheroes.
Yeah.
And they can be killed. I mean, they come back from the dead. I mean, nobody really stays dead unless you're like some lame supporting character or something like that. Like, I'm not convinced that Giselle.
I need to see Eva Mendes show back up again.
One day, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Vin Diesel's ex, the mother of his child, she'll stay dead. She was boring. But like the really exciting ones, I expect them all to come waltzing back in there. I expect Gal Gadot will come walking back in there.
Yeah.
It's just.
And when they walk in, I hope it's with as much swagger as Han. There's something, Brad Pitt does this all the time, and I would love to see a scientific study on why it's so cool for a guy to walk in a room just eating out of a bag. Like, there's like a handful of actors that do that, and they always look immeasurably cool, just like, I do that, it's all down the front of me and everything like that, but yeah.
Like a veggie chip or something like that. And then there's like a tail chip.
Where do you fall in on Tyrese and Luda, on Tej and I forget Tyrese's name, always Roman and Tej.
They are fine for the amount that they are on screen.
Yeah, I'm with that.
like Too Fast, Too Furious was an entire movie of Roman Pierce. It was
too much. Yeah.
pretty annoying. But of course, he wasn't nearly as comical as he is now. He's
Yeah. He was more like a wannabe tough guy then, but those two together, and you almost, I think that's what brings the levity to everything. That's why they could do these things, because you have those two to give the jokes in the background, and you have Tej to balance out Roman. But putting those two in probably the most talked about movie, most talked about scene of the movie, which is accomplished with my favorite part, my favorite touch and everything is that it's accomplished with a Pontiac Fiero. And if you haven't seen the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about.
And let's be honest, they also would never be able to pull that off without who? Bow Wow.
Yep.
Be able to pull it off without Bow Wow.
Who's not so little anymore. That's why he's just Bow Wow. Man.
Yeah, he's been definitely having his share of kibble. But yeah, it's good seeing the Fast and Furious crew, Tokyo Drift crew, show up in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So that's obviously my favorite movie. That was really nice. Yeah, man. The real question is, where do you stand on Natalie Emmanuel?
Oh, I mean, I like physically, she's amazing. I can't even talk straight when I think about her. But I think she could be more for this franchise. But I mean, just to be misogynistic for a minute, eye candy wise, she's top tier.
Like when she has the hair out, like Masande style.
Oh yeah. She did that in 2 or 3 movies ago. They were at a pool and she walked out in like a bikini and she had her hair out like that a little bit. Amazing.
Oh yeah, no, she's incredible. But you know they don't bring the riffraff with Fast and Furious movies.
No. It's top tier, no tier.
And Jordana Brewster is the low one on the totem pole. The heights are pretty high.
Right.
Because Jordana Brewster's hot too.
Yeah.
And you got to see that scene that I talked about last week, the party scene.
Yeah.
Where I just wanted to hear about the casting call.
Yeah, I mean it was exactly what I was expecting. I mean, and I would feel if I watched one of these movies that didn't have that scene and I left the theater, I might not know what it was, but I'll know something was off. I'll know I was missing some big thing. It's like having one of these movies and not having Dom talk about family. You have to have the car show scene with the girls wearing dental floss in their ass, walking in, and the camera. Justin Lin, God bless him. Camera always comes in right at like kneecap level, comes up a little bit and stays there.
Like 6'1", 6
yes.
At minimum. Like it's like 6 foot and up was like the casting call.
I just want to have them put Luda in there and really get some jokes going because like I'm feeling like
110 pounds max.
Yeah.
You know.
That
was the casting call sheet, and I was like, yeah, they ain't letting just anybody in here for this.
Exactly. Oh man. So another movie that I had to second guess myself when I saw the releases. I think at the end of last week I was looking at the releases for this week, and I could have sworn Mr. Plow: The Revenge came out a long time ago. Of course, I'm talking about The Ice Road with Liam Neeson.
We're done with F9. We're done with
that. It sounded like we were wrapping, but if you want to keep going, I'm fine. I can talk about Natalie Emmanuel all day.
I think we're both in agreement.
Yeah.
Where does this rank for you on Fast and Furious?
I mean, see, here's the problem with that.
We should rank our best Fast and Furious. This is the kind of thing that we should have written a story about. Actually, it's like Furious movies ranked from best to worst.
Or at least had a segment in today's show about it. Because I mean, here's the problem: is I'd have to literally sit down and look for them because they all meld together with me. I mean, it's like I can't separate. I think I really like one of my favorites. Obviously, the first one, the Fast and the Furious, was my favorite for a long time. But I think most of that's nostalgia. If I go back and watch it now, it's good, but it's not. It doesn't measure up with everything else. But
the first one made me go out and buy a car.
The first one made everybody in our age range get a ticket.
I was driving a really shitty truck at the time, and and I watched that movie, and it made me want to go buy a car, and I did. I bought a car like the next week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you tell.
Fast Furious car, mind you, just a car.
Yeah, just a car so you can pretend. But yeah, I mean, for anybody that's on the younger spectrum, when the Fast and the Furious came out in 2001, it was like, I mean, we were all between 20 and 25 when that came out. Let's say 18 and 25. So we were right in that demographic. And I will never forget leaving the parking lot and seeing everybody in their shitty Southern Maryland hoopties peeling out and swerving out of the lane, especially because this one guy who had like an 88 Bronco pulled in front of the theater where everybody was walking out and just started power braking, right? And he gets about 10 seconds into it and his transmission blows. And he's doing it and just black smoke everywhere. But yeah, it was amazing.
Those movies have had not just on people but on the industry. It's insane. These movies, we said they make $1 billion a year. It's the most successful original franchise in history.
I mean, it's impossible for it to not set the standard in some ways.
For the last 20 years, it's by far the most successful original franchise. It's just insane how far these movies have come.
Yeah.
And they are essentially Marvel movies now. I mean, it's kind of what they are. They're superhero movies without the superheroes.
Yep.
And I don't know why you'd ever think about them going away. Like, I know they're talking about 2 more, or at least I know Justin Lin's on 2 more, but I don't see that happening as long as people keep paying for them.
And Vin Diesel, he loves the spotlight. He loves having a successful movie. And let's be honest, a lot of his movies that I mean, I love the guy because he embraces his geek full forward. But even the movies that were good, like Bloodshot. Bloodshot, I liked a lot. Nobody else seemed to like it. The Last Witch Hunter wasn't that good, honestly. But he does a lot of these cool movies.
Bloodshot is mediocre as hell, but it wasn't awful.
I enjoyed it. But that's because it had Isaac Gonzalez in it. I think everybody knows how I judge my movies. If you see my rating, just expect there to be pretty girls in it.
Gonzalez.
Yeah, she's top tier as well. But yeah, I mean, going back to what the favorite one is, I'd have to say probably the first one that Gal Gadot is in, not entirely because of her, but because I just love those sequences of them going through the coyote tunnels underneath the border.
It really is time for a full rewatch, though. I mean, run through the entire franchise.
Yeah.
I feel like I've watched through the Marvel at least twice, I think. So I mean, it's time to do Fast and Furious. I've never done that full run through again in continuity order. I'm gonna have to watch it in order. So
see, I'll have to research because I don't even know where Tokyo Drift fits into that.
Tokyo Drift is towards the end, obviously. So
because it's okay. Yep.
Somewhere around 7 in. So
because I always thought it was earlier, but then I guess so. Yeah, we have to look at that. But
in terms of which ones came out, it was number 3.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of where it fits into the story, overall story, it's not until like 7 or 8.
That's right, because Han dies in that one, so it means it has to be after 5 and 6.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I'm actually amazed, to be honest with you, they didn't do that before this came out. And I bet you, I guarantee you, actually, if it hadn't been for COVID, if it released when it was originally supposed to, I guarantee that was in their plans to do what Marvel does or some theater chains do, which is come for the marathon. Watch all the movies in order, and then end out with F9.
Yeah, I mean, they did do that thing leading up to this one where they were showing all the movies free in AMC theaters.
Oh, they were?
Yeah, every Friday they were showing a new one, like all the way up to 9. But they weren't in continuity order; they were just in order of release. So,
right, it wasn't like a 24-hour button-on-a-thon either.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So best F9, we both recommend that one. Couldn't recommend it highly enough. I'm excited to see what happens next, especially after that mid-credit scene.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, you gotta love it. Like, even then they're talking about things winding down, they always find a way in these movies to either tease you on an old character coming back or tease you on a new character. The only thing I would say is I hope they do move a little bit away from like the organized espionage type stuff. I mean, obviously it's not really espionage, but the Mr. Nobodies, them working for governments and stuff like that. Yeah. I'd rather they just be like the A-Team.
The thing I liked about this one is that it was a little bit of a mix of the things that I want.
Mm-hmm. I
want them to have more personal stakes.
Right.
I don't feel the pride. One of the reasons that the F8 sucked, Fate of Fear sucked, was that I didn't feel the personal stakes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see them have rivals who want to take them out. I don't want to see them trying to save the world. I've seen them save the world a few times now, which is insane.
Yeah.
I started. I like people who are just trying to take them out. At this point, they have enough enemies. There should be people who have no designs on ruling the world. They just
Right.
want to be these assholes.
Yeah.
So and I
And
don't
you could up the action in that scenario too. You don't have to have the world at stake to make really cool action scenes.
a rival team of racers again or something like that.
I was just looking up because I couldn't remember his name. From the one dude from the first movie. Did he ever die?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not like that matters. He can come back and then
Is Drift King still alive? Did
who?
Brian's character, the Drift King, did he live through Tokyo Drift?
DK. No, I'm not talking. I'm talking about the first Fast and Furious.
I
But
know you are,
I
but
think I
I'm
don't think he did.
talking about in terms of like villains who are still alive.
Oh yeah.
Could Brian T's Drift King come back and like
And Rick Yoon's Johnny Tran is the other one. I just I the only thing is with we talked about how amazing it is. This little movie about street racers has become the biggest original franchise ever. But you also got to look back and feel bad for guys like Chad Lindbergh, who played Jesse in the first movie. Like, he would have been a perfect like tech guy to have in the corner, and he could have collected a nice paycheck every single year. I mean, Vince from the first movie, he came back, but not really.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. No,
and they could bring Eva Mendes back too. I would, I'm surprised there hasn't already been talk about all female Fast and Furious.
Ava Mendes ain't doing much working at all. I think she's settled into motherhood or whatever, so I don't think she's doing much acting.
Well, that doesn't work with my wants and needs. So she needs to think about others
Is she still
instead
with
of
Ryan
herself.
Gosling? She is, isn't she?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no, she's got Gosling at home and a baby and billions of dollars. She probably won't come back until she gets a little tired of sitting around.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Moving on.
Yep. So, the Mr. Plow movie. That's where we were next. I was saying I was kind of blown away that this was still coming out. I just had this feeling. I remember hearing about it years ago, and obviously COVID and all that. But I could have sworn it just came out quietly one weekend. But no, apparently it did it. So Liam Neeson, as a big rig type ice road truckers basically, gets to be Liam Neeson, senior citizen action hero again. I don't know what I was expecting. I was kind of surprised that I
Don't
bought
you?
into it.
Don't you?
What?
Don't you?
Well, what I mean is I wasn't expecting much, but it was weird because it was like not a movie I really enjoyed, but at the same time, I can still believe Liam Neeson as like an action hero. I don't know why he shouldn't, and I shouldn't be able to believe him as that, but he just seems like a really grumpy old man with a gun.
Yeah. I actually I like surprisingly I enjoyed this while
Mm.
recognizing that it's not a very good movie. But
Oh yeah.
I still enjoyed it largely because of Liam Neeson. I think he's just I don't know for whatever reason he's just so goddamn credible that I'll buy pretty much anything he does.
Mm.
As a long haul big rig trucker who apparently kicked a lot of ass.
Yep.
Uh, Survived a lot of shit that no one should survive. Um, but yeah, basically the story is he plays a big rig trucker in God, well they're riding over a frozen Lake Winnipeg,
Yep.
um, and they're
Yeah, it's
racing.
literally the ice road truckers type deal stuff,
They're
where it
racing.
could break at any second.
Yeah, it's him in a small team. One played by Lawrence Fishburne, who's there for about 5 minutes, and another one played by Amber Midthunder, who's someone I really like. And his brother, Neeson's character's brother, who has PTSD and other mental problems that give him the mental capacity of a child, basically.
Mm.
Um, they're racing against the clock to save some miners in a diamond mine. There's been a methane explosion, and now they need to save before their oxygen runs out. So they're racing across Lake Winnipeg. They give you this whole big rundown too of like why this is dangerous. Like if you go too fast, the ice your truck will sink. If you
Yeah.
go slow, your truck will sink. These
Mm.
guys, I mean, and within like the first 5 minutes, when the truck sinks,
Yep.
sinks. So and then it never seems to really be that much of a problem again, I guess. But they
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of other issues. So you got Benjamin Walker there, the former Abraham Lincoln vampire hunter
Mhm.
himself, as a corporate exec insurance guy, like a corporate. Like
Oh, so he's a good guy, right?
Imagine Paul Reiser from Alien
Aliens.
riding along on the trip. And
Yep.
as soon as he shows up, you're like, oh, okay, well he's shady already. We already,
Yeah.
we
No
already,
question.
he's telegraphed a mile away.
Yeah.
Um, so along on this journey, of course, they face like thin ice and cracked ice and all sorts of other things, and of course the shady corporate guys, corporate stooge.
Hmm.
Corporate malfeasance is like a big theme in this movie. Actually, it's probably the most dangerous thing in this movie is corporate malfeasance.
Yeah.
Uh, but I enjoyed it in spite myself
Yep.
because it's so outlandish, so ridiculous. Some of the things they survive and get through, and and the the enemy that they face, they get into some pretty interesting situations.
Yeah.
Now
Well, you
it's
want?
kind of a point A to point B movie, but in some ways it reminded me of The Wages of Fear, but it's not The Wages of Fear. The Wages of Fear is a classic. It's not that.
Mm,
But I kind of was into it um, for what just because it's so silly. It's kind of a guilty pleasure movie. I think it's not great by any means.
yeah. It's
I,
what I always call a Sunday afternoon movie. You sit down and you turn something on and turn your brain off, relax before the weekend's over.
yeah,
Lawrence Fishburne seems to be showing up in literally everything, and most of them, he's got the best deal in Hollywood because he shows up in all these movies. He probably gets his quote, and he's only in them for like 5, maybe 10 minutes. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp was his biggest role that I remember recently, in a movie like this at least. But yeah, it's
watch,
the ever-present threat.
didn't
Was
you
that?
just watch him in that Under the Lights movie like 2 weeks ago?
I said movie like this. The only like in action movies where he's showing up.
I was about to say it's like
Yeah.
did you watch that
I mean
movie?
he's done a couple other big dramas too, yeah. I mean, and he didn't really, he wasn't the star of that one either, but like
He's
he's been showing up in these action movies
in the John
left and right.
too.
What's that?
He's in the John Wick movies too, right?
Yeah, but he's not like, he's only in them for a short amount of time.
Yeah, just like this one.
Well, that's my whole point. Is like he's got this great deal where he shows up, he gets his quote, and is only in them for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Um, but yeah, so you have that ever-present threat of the ice, which it's basically not something you really need to explain, and they do, but it's par for the course.
Well, they play fast and loose with the rules here a lot. So
Well, yeah, they're not going by any laws of physics, that's for sure.
no. That's why it was funny that they established like the rules of the road and the physics of it like so early because they basically ignore it.
All right, listen to all this stuff and then ignore it because we're not going to pay attention to it
Yeah,
again.
basically you got the trucks driving. You got the trucks capsizing more than once,
Hmm.
and they flip them back over with so much ease. And I'm like, I know it can't be that easy. And especially since you guys are supposedly on this super thin ice that should be cracking, is that you're standing still on it so long. But
Yeah.
it doesn't. That never seems to become much of a factor.
No, no.
unless, unless the story demands it, then it becomes a factor. But
Well, that's why they do that so that in the third act when you think your hero is going to win, the ice starts to crack and you remember, oh yeah, that's there, and
but I like the tension that they did kind of build up between the drivers because the Mid Thunder's character is Native American and she's kind of
Hmm.
looked upon with suspicion by the corporate guy, of course, corporate corporate white guy.
Hmm.
He also happens to be a bigot. I kind
As
of,
they are.
but I like that Neeson's character isn't perfect. He's kind of a dick, actually. In fact, I think he's awful to his brother for most of the movie. I think
Yeah.
to his brother, who is a complete innocent in all of this, and yeah, he probably has made Neeson's character's life very difficult.
Hmm.
But Neeson's character is still such an asshole to him that you don't really feel sympathy for him when some tragedy strikes later on into the movie. I was kind of like, hey, you kind of deserve that. You kind of deserve the guilt that you're going to be carrying for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But I like that tension that they build up there. It's far better than the tension that they try to build within the mine, where everything turns Lord of the Flies within like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and it didn't make any sense. It didn't. I hated it. Every time they cut back to the miners, I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would have preferred a movie where they're on the ice road trying to get away from like pirates trying to steal their load.
They did a pretty decent job of keeping the anxiety high, considering it's big trucks just driving slow for most of the movie, and
Yeah.
they don't show a lot of them just driving. A lot of the time they are fighting amongst each other
Yep.
for most of the movie.
Yeah, and that's why I think a lot of the stuff with his brother came in and everything. It's kind of like a misguided or overshot attempt to make him an everyman, to make him relatable. But I mean, you don't really need to do that. I don't think. In this,
You don't
at
need
least
to
it
do
didn't help in that.
You don't really need to do it, William. You don't need to try that hard. He kind of automatically comes off as an everyman,
Yeah.
which is funny because early in his career he always came off as kind of pompous and you know what do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
The evolution of his career is one of the most fascinating things in the world to me in terms of actors. But hey, he pulled it off, and now I
Well,
can barely remember the movie was taken. If I'm
when
completely
what can you say? When you're known throughout Hollywood for having a legendarily large endowment, it gets you movie roles, and it changes, and you do what you want to do. That's the way it is.
I would never say
Another movie that we talked about last week, or you gave us your rundown last week, and I finally got to see earlier. Late,
you got to see the dance scene with our girl.
I could have seen more, but the thing I like about, of course, we're talking about werewolves within the horror comedy, and really, something Travis said last week that I'll put up front is it's more of a comedy, horror comedy. There's werewolves, there's deaths, but it's all pretty much all played for laughs, and it's just
it's a whodunit.
yeah, it's a whodunit.
Yeah.
But what I was surprised about, I expected Sam Richardson to be funny. I expected Milana Vayntrub to be cute and funny, but the rest of the cast in here, it's a really good ensemble in this movie. Also, I found out after the fact that this was based on a game. When I was watching the opening of it and I saw Ubisoft was there, I didn't know this was a game.
Yep, it is one of their. I don't know if it's a first-person game. I think it's one of their like Telltale type games, kind of a click-through game, something like that that people.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean this one is if you're a fan of horror comedies though, I think people will really dig this one because it is light on the horror. It's good for a date night movie because you will be laughing out loud. There are some, if you're particularly skittish, there are a few good jump scares, and like the atmosphere of everything is what I like the most. Like we don't get enough good werewolf movies, and I think if you get something like this where it's people trapped in a cabin, like played for straight horror and take out the comedy elements and have this situation in a full horror movie, it's going to be an amazing movie because they never do werewolf movies right. Yeah.
So I go back to my question. What did you think about the dance scene with Milana Vayntrub?
I could have done for less close.
How long would you have liked that scene to have been?
It's fine the way it was, I guess. I don't I think I know what scene you're talking about, but I'm not 100%.
Dances. Like there's only one scene where she dances, and she dances for Sam Richardson's character. How do you not remember it? For someone like
I was thinking about when they're all in the living room and they're kind of like dancing around and joking around.
bar.
Well, apparently I must have got up to the bathroom at the wrong time because I don't remember that part. I don't remember her and Sam Richardson being there when she was dancing around. That's what we were talking about because the scene I'm thinking about, she has like everything on. Was that not the case in the other one?
I never said she was naked.
Oh, maybe I just inferred that.
I think you thought that. I never said that.
Well, you just asked me in the beginning. You said what did you think about how much she had on?
I never said that. I said no. I never said that. I said,
yeah, I'm making things up in my head, I guess.
Yeah, I said, what did you think of the scene?
Damn, now I'm trying to think of, was it in the beginning or the end? Because I don't even remember getting up.
In the beginning, not long after they meet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When she's like sitting on him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that my wife was supposed to pause the movie when I went to get a soda. I know exactly the time she saw it. I don't think she actually paused the movie. She might have intentionally fast forwarded. That's why you don't talk about the girls in it that are hot before the movie starts, ladies and gentlemen.
I need to like find it and see if I can like send it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go on YouTube. Or I think I still have the rental because it gives me 48 hours, and I watched it Friday night. So that's close. We need to shut the show down. I need to go watch it again now.
You know what I was watching last night? I was watching for real action. I'm gonna do a real action on it. I was watching Cyborg last night.
Boot knife, best thing in the world.
Boot knife is awesome, and I think That was the first movie where I think I saw the boot knife. Like,
Yeah.
I think my first experience with someone having the boot knife.
I don't remember anything else. And then if you
I mean,
can
I
work
know
this,
I've seen it before in other things, but I think that was the first time as a child. Because I think I was 12 when that.
hmm
I think that was the first time I had seen the boot knife.
yeah, I remember showing up a lot in the '90s and even in the 2000s. But for the longest time, I only knew it from Cyborg, and I was a big action junkie when I was a kid. But just clicking the heels together like Dorothy, and then slicing somebody's throat open, it's amazing.
I forgot how gruesome that movie actually was.
It's nasty, man. It's nasty. And
There's a
you
lot
got
of
to bring up in your video, you have to bring up the bonus trivia that Method Man's Tikal 2000 album, I think it was, starts with one of my favorite songs, Judgment Day, starts with what's his name? His little monologue. I like the misery. I like this world.
Fender. Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
my video is going to start off with that actually.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I start off with me singing it. I almost always start off videos with me quoting something from the movie. But I'm going to start off with that, of course. Absolutely, man. Yeah, I forgot how gory that movie was. I forgot, and this will be part of the trivia inside the video, is that it was actually going to be rated rated NC-17. They had to edit it.
hmm
They had to edit the hell out of it to get an R, and mainly because of that village scene, that opening, that village scene, like the first like 10, 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Bodies everywhere, and it's just like Jesus Christ, people get decapitated, their hearts ripped out. Like, God damn, this movie.
Yeah. I mean, Cyborg, a lot of people forget about Cyborg, especially in the Van Damme filmography, but Cyborg is probably that's like the highest level Canon Films you ever get. It's got every Canon Films like trope that they did in all their movies, from the hyper violence to the weird costumes to the over the top like kind of dancey type stuff. Oh, it's crazy. It's a good movie.
Yeah, I'm trying to stick around in the Canon library for a little while. I mean, I just did Rumble in the Bronx, but I'm going to go back to Canon after that. Like I did Missing in Action for Canon, and then I
hmm
stepped out of Canon to do Rumble in the Bronx, but now I'm going to go back into Canon for this one.
There was actually a really good documentary came out a year or two ago about Canon. It was like all about the Canon Films, you know, situation from the Globus and Glalum or whatever their names are getting together and the whole thing. It was really good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an action fan. I love the Canon era, at least the Canon era with those two guys.
Yeah,
Their biggest problem is that they tried to get too big for their britches. They started trying to make superhero movies and all sorts of big, expensive shit.
yeah. And you stay with movies like Cobra, where
the irony
crime
is,
is a disease and he's the cure. Then you're good.
if they had stuck making $5 to $10 million action movies, they'd probably still be around today. But
Blumhouse is the modern day horror version of Canon Films. If you think about it, like they spent a little bit more money too, but I mean they had everything.
better creators on their stuff.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that the theory of make it cheap and then it's easier to make money. But they kept Charles Bronson in the industry for like 20 years past what he should have. Chuck Norris was really only famous because of his roles in Canon Films. Masters of the Universe, Cobra, Bloodsport, so much good stuff out of there.
Actually, I think Cobra's going to be next after this one.
Cobra's so good, man. I mean, you got that 32 coupe he drives around. He's got his black aviators. He's got the matchstick sticking out. Every cliche you could do. I'm surprised you haven't done. If you're gonna do Canon, you have to find a way. I know this isn't action, but if you're gonna do Canon, you have to find a way to work in Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm going to stick with that. If I ever convince Chris to let me do just like a Canon, thing, then I would.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm doing as long as it's called real action, then I'm going to hit with real action.
The American Ninja movies were pretty good too for their time, I think.
Oh, don't worry, they're on my list of ideas.
hmm
It's funny the comments and under the videos, people are always throwing suggestions at me. So I'm trying to convince Chris to let me do a China O'Brien movie, but so far I've not gotten a green light, so I'm a little upset. But whatever. That's okay.
Yeah.
I really China O'Brien movie. You won't let me.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't say I'm surprised that her name has like been lost to history for most people, but what's that?
Cynthia Rothrock.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, she was so there was one of her movies where she had a fight scene at an airport against like 20 dudes. I don't remember which movie it was, but it blew my mind. And you know, she's still left out of everything like the Expendables type stuff. I mean, why not throw her a bone? Bring her in there.
You ever follow the Expendables Facebook page? Stallone is an asshole. He's always on there teasing the idea of doing another one. Just
Yeah.
do it, but quit fucking around with people. Just
Yeah,
do it.
I think I'm gonna do another one of these. You know. Yeah, I get the feeling that he's an ass. I hear he's good from a lot of people, but you definitely, when somebody's really good in Hollywood, you hear the stories. Like you see Arnold Schwarzenegger reaching out on like Facebook, and you know when people are being bullied and stuff like that. You hear stories about Keanu Reeves, even guys like Jeff Goldblum. But Stallone, you only ever hear like asshole stories, which means one of two things: either he's never really that nice a guy, or he's only an asshole.
Yeah, I don't know. It's true. I don't know. I just wish you'd just go ahead and make Expendables 4 already. It's been too long. What was 3? I feel like that was a decade ago now.
It wasn't a decade, but it was like 6 or 7 years, I'd say.
Yeah,
Because that was one with Wesley Snipes, right? The third one.
3 was the one where they finally got the shit right. Like 3 was like the only one that was actually pretty good. Pretty good.
I do remember that, but I also remember wishing that Van Damme's villain role was in the third movie instead of the second movie, because he was good as a villain. And you're right, it is almost 10 years. So Expendables came out in 2010, Expendables 2 in 2012, or 2012, excuse me, and then Expendables 3 in 2014. So it's been 7 years.
Yeah, and nothing about a fourth one yet. So I mean, I guess they're probably not going to do them. They were never like huge hit movies anyway.
No, they were conversation pieces really more than anything.
Yeah, so I still want one, but you know, probably won't happen. Anyway, we went off on a whole different track here, and it's my fault, but whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
What's what do we have next? Do we have anything else? Are we done with reviews? We're done with reviews, right?
Yeah, yeah. So Werewolves Within gets a thumbs up from us both. Yeah, we're done with reviews of movies. We have not talked about Loki.
We have not talked about Loki. So big things happen in this Loki.
Big things popping.
Yeah, a big revelation about Loki that I think we all sort of knew anyway. Loki is bisexual.
I never even saw it as a revelation. I get why it's a big deal, and people are happy to hear it for representation reasons. But like, I'm being probably very naive in thinking this, but I see guys like this depicted on a bunch of, like Lucifer. His show is all about, he's always talking about his bisexuality. And Loki, I could have sworn they made mention of it before.
No,
or maybe I'm just thinking of the character.
No, they haven't. But I mean, in the comics, he's gender fluid. I mean, so it makes sense that Marvel he would be gender fluid or bisexual or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, I think probably all Asgardians are bisexual. I mean, they're gods. They don't, for essentially they're gods. Why would they subscribe to human notions of gender and sexuality? It never made any sense to me anyway. Like
Yeah.
I would say Thor probably is too.
Well, the Vikings were. So,
in mythology, almost all the gods were bi.
Yeah.
So
it's warm and wet, they're fucking it. That's the way it goes.
So I don't know. I never really even. I always thought that was weird that we make it seem as if it's strange that this be the case. But
yeah.
He comes out and says it in this one, which I think is good, and it's good to have Marvel finally do something like that because they don't have any LGBTQ representation in Marvel yet. Now a lot of people have speculated about Valkyrie, Thompson's character, and she's come out and said that she's bi or whatever, but it's never been put on screen.
Right.
So it doesn't count until it's on screen.
Yeah, but by that same measure, I really not appreciate it because it's not my realm to appreciate really, but I thought it was good how they handled it by not making it a focal point of the show.
You're a bisexual white man.
Well, yeah, and well, no, I'm bisexual Hispanic male. So I do feel everything about this. No, well, no, it's like I think it's, and this isn't a don't beat us over the head with it type thing at all by any means, but I always think it's much more respect inducing to whoever they're depicting if they don't treat it like it's a huge deal. If they treat it like, yeah, that's what I am.
Right.
And normalize it.
That's what Loki did. Loki
yeah.
they didn't build an episode around it.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why the way they did it was great. Where it's just kind of it's not so much an offhand comment where you feel like they're just placating people, but it's part of the story. It rolls in, no more different than my mom died a few years ago, or I drive a red car. It's just part of who he is.
With Sylvie, so as we
Mm-hmm.
all know, it is Sylvie, not necessarily Lady Loki. She's Sylvie. I still think she's actually just going to be the Enchantress when it's all said and done. But
Oh,
but yeah, but yeah. How would you describe this episode? Did you like this episode?
I felt like it was incomplete. I mean, I've liked everything I've seen so far. It hasn't really hooked me hard. I feel like they're setting up multiple stories to be paid off later instead of giving us each episode having one mini story that's self-contained while having a larger story arc, which I think you have to do when you have weekly television. That's the difference with binge watching. I think I said this before in here, but I feel like they're applying the binge watching show structure to a weekly release structure, and it doesn't work the same because when you're binge watching, you can pay off episode 1 back later in episode 4, and it won't make a difference because it's like a big long movie. But when you're doing it week by week, it gives people a lot of time to think about it. But that being said, there was a bit of a discussion in our house about would it be weird if Loki and Lady Loki hooked up, because they did seem a little romantic sometimes. I mean, is it like a twin? But it's not. It's different dimensional. But things like that start to crop in your head when you're waiting for the story to pay off.
I didn't get a sexual vibe from them. At least I didn't.
Well, Sophia, what's her name? Her last name, the one that plays Sylvia. She's a beautiful woman, and Tom Hiddleston is just a very exuding sexuality type person too. So you put any two people in a room, and it's going to feel like that. But maybe not. The point is that it doesn't feel like full stories are being told, and that's my only real issue so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like WandaVision or even, I would say to some extent, Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Mm-hmm.
where they're telling individual stories. They're telling one long arc, and I think that works fine for this one because this one is only 6 episodes. It's not as long as the other ones.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier was what 8 still.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, WandaVision was 8, I think, as well. This one's only 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fine to do it that way right now. We'll see how it works in the last 3 episodes. But I think this is going to be one of those shows that is better watched in totality than it will be watched in
Yeah. And I think they need to evaluate that. Like, I get their scheduling where they're giving us Marvel spaced out so we always have new Marvel, but I mean, where do you stand on two things? Like, I do on a part of me likes the fact that they are making the show as long as it needs to be and not trying to fill an episode quota, because that's how you get filler episodes.
So the Netflix shows where every single show went through like 4 episodes of filler.
Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
but is there anything to be said for consistency, like knowing what you're going to get, or should they obviously just build it out like this? Because the other way those 2 extra episodes that they're missing could have put in small subplots to give you that kind of sense of completion at every episode. I don't think it's going to matter at the end of the day once we get them all, but just
I don't feel like I'm missing anything yet. Like I don't feel like, I mean, I don't know how I'll feel about it until it's over, but
mm-hmm.
I don't feel like something's being left out due to time constraints. So far, I don't feel that way. I feel like they've managed to accomplish a lot. They're cramming a lot into each episode. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this episode.
Mm-hmm. And a big reveal too when we find out that, and we were led to believe at this point, like Owen Wilson and all the TVA agents thought that they were created by the timekeepers to serve the TVA, but then you find out that, oh no, they were regular people at one point.
Well, that's what Sylvie says. Now we
can't
exactly trust that she's being honest about anything either. She is a Loki variant,
right?
So I don't know if you can trust anything she's saying. It's like you can't trust 100% anything that Loki himself says. You can't trust any of that stuff. So I don't know what's true and what's not yet, and I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out too. That's one of the mysteries lingering over this thing that I'm interested to see play out.
Right. I mean, I guess the only reason I'm believing it full force is that the timekeepers cannot be a benevolent,
No,
group. There's got to be some malicious intent there. So that would, put it towards that way. But
they might just be wrong. They might
yeah,
be malicious. I don't know. Ultimately, I think Sylvie's character will end up being somewhat like Loki himself, which will be someone who plays it down the middle.
hmm
That's probably where she'll end up, especially if she turns out to be popular. That's where she'll.
yeah,
But so far I'm liking it. But I do think this is gonna be like unlike the other ones where I was like, well, WandaVision started off slow, but Falcon and Winter Soldier I was into it right from the beginning. This is gonna be one of those that I'm not gonna know how I really feel about it until it's over.
right. And they are doing a good enough job of keeping you interested, so it's not a chore to get through it for sure. The only thing that I didn't realize would bother me when with this much Loki, 'cause, I mean, this is also the most time we've spent with Loki, is that every time he pulls out his daggers, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but every time he pulls out his daggers, he does the same like like superhero stance, and it got to be really funny when he and Sylvia were um, kind of going back and forth between fighting and talking, and every time she would turn around and do something, he'd do the same, pull out his dagger superhero stance. But yeah, no, I think it's a lot of fun, and I know some people are having trouble with it right now, but I fully believe that this should have been a binge type show. And if you stick with it throughout, or even if just wait until the rest of the episodes come out, I think it'll definitely have some good payoff.
But it's Disney Plus, and they don't do things that way. So
Yeah. So we talked about a bit about Expendables 4 and why that wasn't coming out, and we might have kind of a hint as to why they're not doing it on the set of Indiana Jones. It took what, a week? A week for Harrison Ford to hurt himself.
yeah, Harrison Ford injured his shoulder while training for a fight scene.
It's almost like 80-year-olds shouldn't do fight scenes. It's weird.
And they were hoping to avoid age-related jokes about this, then this is not the way to do it. It didn't stop production or anything. Like they're still for the production, so it maybe won't delay the movie or anything, which has already been delayed for years as it is. I think Harrison Ford's aged like 10 years in the time that it's taken him just to get the script ready.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is obviously not a great start. Having him get hurt. They better call up Shia LaBeouf now and see if he'll step in. Have Mutt show up and take over. Maybe a quarter of the way into the movie.
Yeah. And then get shot, and then for roll credits, and then that's the only way that I'll approve him being in the movie.
Indy accidentally looks at the Ark of the Covenant like he forgot. Like he's gone senile.
No, I think it's more that Mutt shows up, and then he realizes that's his kid, and then he just looks at it intentionally. That's what I would do. But yeah, it's not. But the thing that kind of struck me is that, like you said, production didn't stop. So that can mean one of two things. I don't believe that at almost 80 years old, any injury can be minor enough to keep going for Harrison Ford. I mean, it's just a fact of life. You get that old. But they do have Hollywood medicine, so who knows. But the other thing that it makes me think is maybe he, isn't featuring very prominently in it. And certainly not the action scenes, which I don't think he could anyway.
I think it's probably more that they're still very early in production. Probably, I don't even know if they're even in full production yet, or if they're still in pre. It's like he's training for a fight scene. I don't know if he's necessarily shooting it. So I mean, it's probably not. It's probably not to the point where production would get delayed by something like this yet. And there's probably other things they could be doing that you don't necessarily need to shoot that scene with him at that moment. So it seems like it's still moving forward, but we'll see what happens. If he gets hurt again, though, that not only will the studio's insurers be like, the fuck, we might be hearing more about delays. I stand by it. I think Indy dies in this one. I think he dies. That's my guess. That he dies. It just seems like Harrison Ford wants to bring these characters back so he can be killed.
And with somebody like Indy, there's no better way to go out than with your boots on. I mean, those guys don't want to go out playing chess in a nursing home.
I think it's probably a good idea for him to look at the Ark of the Covenant. Go full circle.
But not through the senile thing, right?
Why not?
Well, I mean, you did say they were trying to not get age-related jokes on it, but you know, who knows? Harrison Ford's a weird bird, man. Like sometimes he gets really serious and doesn't want to talk about his roles, and sometimes he has no problem poking fun at himself. So,
We find out that at the end of Crystal Skull, he was actually beamed off the planet, and everything else past this point is like, a dream sequence for him. Like
yeah, moment of death hallucinations. Like, I'll take yours. Okay, I'll take yours and move it one better. The end of the movie cuts back to the end of the Last Crusade, and he was drinking the wrong cup, and everything we saw after that was his pre-death hallucination, and then he just withers down to a skull and dies.
like this episode ends like the final scene, and then it like zooms
Mm-hmm.
in on, like his eye, and then it like zooms out, and he's really strapped to like a table in a spaceship.
Yeah, no, that's I can get on board with that. I think. Oh man.
Look, you're going to end a franchise this long-lived, this beloved by most people. I think if I'm being completely honest about the Indiana Jones franchise, I like two movies out of the four, like a lot, and then there are two that are like, eh.
Is Temple of Doom one of the ones for you?
Temple of Doom is definitely an eh, and
Yeah.
Crystal Skull is definitely kind of like a. But Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade are gold.
Yes. Yeah.
But the other two are like, all right, well.
But see, Crystal Skull, other than the name Mutt, I couldn't really tell you anything from it. At least Temple of Doom gave us some iconic moments. Like what kid did not in the '80s grab their friend's rib cage and go "Kalima"? You know, that was like a thing.
My uncle used to talk about chilled monkey brains all the time. Like,
Oh yeah, chilled monkey brains. Yeah.
he used to love saying it. Especially dinner tables.
Oh yeah. Oh man, he cuts the snake and all the baby snakes come out. Oh, it's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're about an hour and 5 minutes at this point, if you can believe that. So I just had one more question for you. What's your favorite Disney World movie? I mean, Disney World ride.
It was Space Mountain.
I can't believe they haven't made a movie about that. But
I mean, I don't think they don't call it Space Mountain anymore. I think they changed its name.
really,
Something else now. Yeah, I think so.
oh, that's almost like changing the name of. I was gonna say Epcot, but that's not the name of it. The big ball.
Before I ever rode on Space Mountain, I knew Space Mountain because Ric Flair used to be like, "Woo! I'm taking them to Space Mountain." Where he's always talking about his banging chicks.
Yeah.
I was too young to know that.
You're like, man, Ric Flair is really nice. He's taking all these ladies to Disney World.
That's all the actual Space Mountain is just a roller coaster in the dark.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite ride because it was the only one there that felt like an adult ride.
Yeah. I mean, especially up until like the late 80s, early 90s, they started getting some more, but they even still really don't have thrill rides there. Except for.
Is actually a pretty good ride. That's the one where it goes up and then falls, right?
The Tower of Terror?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's obviously your segue me back to where I was trying to go, is that Scarlett Johansson is producing and starring in a Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, I think it's just Tower of Terror, movie. Tower of Terror was both at Disneyland and Disney World. At Disneyland, it's since been replaced by a Guardians of the Galaxy ride, but the Tower of Terror still exists at Disney World. And I can't believe, like, I guess I can, because like Haunted Mansion, there's a story there for sure. The ride tells you a story, but the Tower of Terror just seems so ready built for a movie. Like, you get in the ride, and it goes through like a set piece where you're learning all about the hotel, and it's creepy, and it's been shut down since 1935 when lightning struck it. La la la, and then you go up in the elevator, and lightning strikes, of course, and you drop and come up and drop and come up. And as you're going up, you see each of these floors with different things. It's very cinematic in its presentation. So it's
Disney has been kind of iffy on a lot of these amusement park to movie adaptations. The only one that's been super successful so far is Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously.
Well, and now when I was writing, because I wrote a story on punchdrunkcritics.com. If you guys, I haven't said that yesterday, so punchdrunkcritics.com. You guys go to the site and check it out. But I was trying to think, and I couldn't remember if there were a bunch of Disney ride movies or not. I know obviously Pirates. We're getting Jungle Cruise now, and I remember the Haunted Mansion, and Tomorrowland.
Right.
But were there any others?
Isn't that enough?
Well, two that will be good at least, and then two that suck. But I mean, for all the rides they have.
We don't know that. We don't know that these other ones are good. Haunted Mansion is definitely not good.
No, but Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt, come on, it's gonna be fun at least.
It should be good. It should be good, right?
But it isn't kind of strange that after Pirates of the Caribbean's made hundreds of millions of dollars, they didn't start cranking them out left and right?
Tomorrowland's not good.
What's that?
Tomorrowland wasn't good.
Oh yeah, Tomorrowland wasn't good, but I'm just amazed that they had the self-restraint to not start cranking these movies out after Pirates made all that money.
Yeah, but then again, you also got to remember this I guess sort of a limited supply of those things that would be adaptable into movies, I think.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I guess that most of the rides in their theme park come from movies that already exist. So maybe there's not as big of a.
They do now
Mm-hmm.
because they keep just they kind of flip flopped it now. They used to be turning rides into movies. Now they're turning movies into rides. So
right.
They're just reversing course.
Yeah. Yep. So. All right, before we start having trouble with our upload to YouTube like we usually do, we should probably cut it here. Anything major next week?
I don't know what the hell's next week.
I got to start pulling up the schedule before we get to this point.
I know I have it up here somewhere. Next week's the 25th, right?
Yeah.
No,
last Friday was the 25th.
Next week's the second. So next week we have the Tomorrow War.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
That's the big movie of the week. Tomorrow War. And, Tomorrow War and Zola are the two big movies coming out. So I've already seen both of those. My review of Zola should be up tomorrow. My review of Tomorrow War will be up on Thursday as soon as the embargo hits for that one. You can find my interview with Chris Pratt on the site right now. Chris Pratt and Eldon Hodge, also in the movie. He was Aldous Hodge's brother, of course. So my interview with those. And I'll have my other interview for Tomorrow War up this as well.
Yep. To make sure to check those out again, guys.
And my Zola. I have interviews for Zola this week too. I got Coleman Domingo interview with him. So yeah, busy week. Yeah. So moral of the story, folks, is there's a lot of great interviews right now at punchdrunkcritics.com. Travis keeps the news flowing every day. We have reviews every weekend, and as movies come out, Tuesday releases, things like that. So make sure to bookmark our site and put it on your feed to check out every day. If you don't want to go and check out the site every day to see if there's new stuff, and there always is, you can always subscribe to our Twitter account. The site is at PDC Movies. That way you'll get an alert and an update as soon as we post new information. Travis is at Punchy Critic. I am at PunchDrunkJohn. We do have a Twitch presence, thanks to Travis, at cinematic_enforcer. I just started Days Gone, and I think once I get a little bit more into it, I'm gonna try and do a test run there. So I'll include my handle. It won't be anything so creative, but it'll be put up next week. Which do you like better? Which one of these do you like better? Which one of what? Which Gambit? Let's see. Hold on. I switched over. I can't see you. Oh, definitely the one on your right. This one? That one, yeah. This is the custom one. Okay. All right. So any tips, questions, if you want to tell Travis which Gambit you think looks better, you can email us info@punchdrunkcritics.com. We're always looking for new writers, looking for interesting voices and different perspectives on things. So please feel free to email us there, info@punchdrunkcritics.com. And until next week, folks, I'm John. Travis. And we are out.
Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.